Welcome to Creative Glamour. I'm Cecilia. Today we are going to be talking about tools and what exactly they will achieve. So all of you know our normal foundation brush, which I would refer to as our old school foundation brush, which most people know. And then this is a flat top foundation brush that we refer to. And this brush gives you instant blending and buffing. So where this one you often have to use with something like this as a buffing tool, or even some people like using our yellow dot number 11. There is different ways of having applications, from sponges to latex wedges. Any of those kind of tools is what we're going to be covering and what they can achieve if used in the right technique. So what I've done for today is I've just put some cream foundation. So this whole video will be done with only using cream foundation so that you can see different tools can give you different effects. So if you're opting for our old school foundation brush, what you're going to get is an instant heavier application. So today my model, I've done it that she's got some freckles, and the whole idea is to show you if you are someone that wants to cover it up, using this brush will give you a heavier coverage instantly. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Applying your foundation to your brush, making sure that your brush has absorbed some of the product, and then by applying it to the face area, you can see how that instantly gives a certain amount of coverage. You can hardly see any of the freckles coming through, and that is what this brush will give you instantly. What sometimes is the problem with this brush is that it leaves a little bit of streaky lines. So as you can see, if you wanted a heavy application, instantly this will give you a much heavier application if you want to achieve more coverage. So forgetting about the actual product that you're using, because using the same product in a different way could give a different effect. So if we talk about brushes only, and you look at your buffing brush, and let's apply the same coloring. So we're using the exact same product, the exact same color, but can you see how that just using the different kind of brush will still give you good coverage, but it is a much lighter application of product. Because the bristles of the brush maybe absorbs a little bit more of the product than what your flat old school brush does, most of your product is on one area and it gets applied instantly. So you can have this brush on the side, but when it comes to maybe underneath the eye areas over there, it's a little bit harder to use this brush. And then you might opt for something like this, and then it still can give you a lighter application, and it might make it a little bit easier to get right underneath your eye area. If you opt for a smaller brush, you can also use that. But once again, once your bristles are tighter, it will give you instantly a heavier application. If you look at this buffing brush, some people refer to it as stippling brush. If you use this onto this area where you've used this little guy, and you do a circular motion and you buff out your foundation right before you're going to be applying your powder or anything like that, you would be able to see how that gives you instantly a little bit more of buffing and blending, and it does soften your product. But the actual application at the end of the day, this one is definitely heavier and this one is definitely a little bit lighter. Using exactly the same product, but using a different tool can give you a different effect. So if you're somebody that likes a heavier coverage, then this kind of foundation brush most probably is your best bet to get instant results. If you are somebody that wants a little bit of a lighter application, then using the flat top would be the better option. So in order to be finishing off the face, just so that you can see what it looks like on all the areas of the face, I'm going to just finish this entire half of the face. So on this side of the face, I'm just completing it with the yellow dot number 13. So as you can see, it's a much heavier application. So when you are looking for more coverage and you want to achieve this much faster, you can still achieve it with this brush. It's quite easy to work underneath your eye area with this brush. It's much easier to get right underneath that lash line. So as you can see, much heavier, much lighter. So with this kind of brush, does that mean that you can't achieve this kind of coverage as what you've got on this side? It's not true, you can. It's just a more buildable situation where you have to go in and apply some more and add and build. So for when you are looking at timing and you want to be able to do your makeup a little bit faster, that's why choosing the right tool for your application is always a good idea. So if you look nicely up close, you would be able to see, yeah, you can see a little bit more of your freckles coming through, and this side it definitely has a heavier application. Because this side technically has less product on, it also has a more of a smooth kind of finish than what I feel this side has, purely because of the amount of product that the brush applied to the face area. So for today, before I even show you how to add more of the flat top brush onto that side, I've got another model that I'm going to be showing you using sponges before we make any kind of changes. So for this model, I'm going to be showing you with the sponge application and the latex wedge. So with your latex wedge, you can get, once again, your heavier application. So what I'm using here is just some cream foundation, once again, and when you're doing more of a dabby motion, what makes a latex wedge nice is that it's really easy to get right underneath your eye areas with heavy applications, should you wish to cover up anything additional. So this is truly showing you the foundation being applied, no contouring, no highlighting, no extra color correcting or concealing, any of those techniques. It's just purely showing how much coverage you achieve with different tools. When you get to the hairline, you turn your sponge around and just make sure that it blends into your hairline. Wherever you would want extra coverage, by just doing more of a dabby motion on any of those areas, you instantly will achieve that. So you can see, even if there's anything specifically that you would like to cover up, it is quite easy to do it with this application. And if you are somebody that likes a heavy application, this is still an easy way of achieving that. So for your foundation blending sponge, you're going to wet it before you use it, squeeze out all your excess moisture, and then it's just a damp sponge in which you're working with. So I'm then going to apply my foundation to my sponge, and I will be doing a little bit more of a sweepy motion with it, and you can see what a nice thin application that can give you. So where you have any kind of imperfections, where you want to be using maybe a little bit more product, you then make sure that you apply it to the tip point of the sponge, and on those areas you do maybe a little bit of a dab. Because of the point of the sponge, you can easily manipulate your sponge into any shape that you want. It makes it easier around your nose area, easier around your eye areas, whichever is most comfortable for you and your model. Once you've applied it and you even want to thin it out more, you take the back of your sponge and you can even thin it out a little bit more. And only leave the areas where you want a little bit of extra coverage. So as you can see at this point in time, that using your yellow dot number 13 brush, you instantly get a heavier application. Then for a slightly lighter application, you're using your flat top brush and that will instantly give you that. But when using your sponges, using the exact same product, you will be able to get a much lighter application when you're using your foundation blending sponge wet. So the whole point of today's video is showing you that when you choose your product, that's one choice. But choosing the right tool in which to use that product also is a good starting point when you're doing your own makeup. So as I said, you can use the buffing brush to also get a heavier application. It's just more of a buildable one. So if this is where you are now, we want to try and get this application to look more like this application. So it is the same thing, it's just building onto your product. So where we've only had one layer, if you then go and add a second layer and giving a little bit more of a dabby motion, you would also be able to give a heavier application. When you look at this side, by doing a little bit more of dabby motions, I feel any kind of pores or skin texture that you have, you've worked that product a little bit more into those areas. So when you have a little bit more skin texture, this might be a better option for you. For this area, if you wanted it now to be a much lighter application and you've already applied it with the heavier application, but you feel that it's too much, by using your wet foundation blending sponge, you can actually thin it out quite a bit. Because the sponge will be picking up some of the actual product that you've applied to the skin, this way it will get stuck onto your sponge and actually give you a little bit of a less application. Ideally, the idea is when somebody wants a thinner application, so for instance, I love it when somebody has freckles and I actually keep all of their freckles and a lot of their natural skin tone, so therefore I would automatically opt for a foundation blending sponge and I would instantly not be using cream foundation. I would rather be using my liquid foundation. So once again, using the light coverage product with the applicator that works best for lighter applications, and then you instantly get that kind of result that you're looking for. So as you can see, some of your product is actually on your sponge now, and therefore it did help to thin out your makeup look a little bit and bring some of that natural coloring through. So if you feel that you're stuck at any point and you've applied too much, you can always use this technique to make it a little bit less. So when you want to achieve a heavier application, this was the whole point in today's video of showing you how quickly it can be to create heavier applications. First of all, using your latex wedge, doing more of a dab motion. If you use your foundation blending sponge and you also implement the same dab motion, you can instantly also achieve a more buildable look and a higher density application. So it's not saying that your foundation blending sponge can't give you a heavier application, but Should you want a lighter application, definitely you want to go for your foundation blending sponge. If you had a model that had perfectly beautiful skin and you didn't need a heavy application whatsoever, definitely opt for using your liquid foundation instead of your cream foundations. So, just to recap on what we did today, that brush will give you a lot more of a heavier instant application. Your foundation blending sponge will give you an instant heavier application. If you like something in between, your flat top foundation brush, that is a nice option to go for. But if you like a lighter coverage, then definitely your foundation blending sponge is your better option. I hope you all enjoyed today's video and found it very useful. Remember to give us a thumbs up and like our videos and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching.